Welcome to Integration Nation for Allison Sullivan's Integrative Mental Health Team. I'm Dee Daniels, and an herb by any other name. I always love making you laugh at the beginning, Allison. It's my
I never
favorite
know
thing
what
to
you're
do.
going to say.
I know.
That's very clever, very witty.
I
Nice
like
one,
it.
Dee.
We already have a nice smell going on in here because of some great tea that we're going to talk about later on in this episode.
Yes.
But this is basically like an Herbal 101.
Herbal 101. We want to demystify herbs and how to use herbs for mental health and wellness to kind of help people understand how to do that safely and effectively. Just give people the basics.
We also are so excited to have a guest on this episode that we're going to be chatting with in just moments. But we want to remind people this is an opening to a bigger picture here. This podcast is just one of the many great outlets here with Allison Sullivan's Integrative Health Team, because you are able to unfold all of these things together, including inviting people to share this podcast and learn from this podcast. And then you have great worksheets and things that go along with this podcast. It's a lot going on.
We have a ton of things going on. And first off, I just want to reiterate the why of this podcast. The why is there are so many great tools out there to support mental health and wellness. And developing an integrative practice here, I feel like is even more effective for people because it's a weaving together of several parts. As you and I talk about often, the sum is greater than the parts. And so using an integrative approach allows people to stack and layer and weave together interventions in a logical, interrelated whole, and the results that they get are even more powerful. So the reason we added in this integrative podcast was to educate people about the power of that, to demystify aspects of it, and to build a sense of community around holistic, effective, integrative mental health practices.
Hashtag girl, this is free therapy. I'm telling you, I see people comment about that kind of thing all the time. And they're like, this is like you're going into a therapy session and you're able to just listen in on it and really pick up things that you can use.
Yes, I ran into somebody actually last week who said, hey, you do know this is like you're giving away free therapy. Why are you doing this? And I said, because that's the whole point, to help people access important therapeutic principles and tools to make their life better and to bring into their own therapy to utilize and make that even more effective.
So many different ways that people can access information through the website is a great hub for all
the
of
website
it.
is the hub of everything, especially since Haley got us into the 21st century.
We love Haley.
With the website. And we have those 4 cute buttons up in the upper right corner that connect anyone to all aspects of social media. You can find us on Pinterest through our cute little Pinterest button, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Of course, on the website, you have all the information you need about all the workshops we do, the blog that we have, the worksheets that we put up there for free to download with various Integration Nation episodes. You really don't want to miss that because they kind of summarize what we talk about. They help you remember how to do the specific processes that we outline in the podcast, and they're free.
They're absolutely free, which is fantastic. So a really great place to start if you are if you're trying to wrap your head around what we're doing around here. What's going on around here?
Well, I'm getting ready to take another sip of this delicious herbal tea.
I wish that you would. I've been
right now.
staring at mine for the whole time we've been talking. So, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, this is a great time to introduce. I am always excited to have a guest. I am really excited for this guest because our guest today is Brian Keenan, who is a naturopathic doctor and owner of Magnolia Natural Medicine, here to talk to us about all things herbal. Welcome to Integration Nation, Brian. We are thrilled to have you, and thank you for the tea. Brian has just brewed for us his very own herbal tea called Calm, Cool, and Collected with all kinds of yummy and powerful herbs.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No problem. I wanted to be, join the toolkit, I thought just before we get started, I thought it was such a good point that you talked about with all the different tools that you offer people, and all the different worksheets and ways that they can interact, just because what I've seen with people is that when people reassemble their own path to healing, it's so personal, and they are able to really tailor it to what their needs are.
Yes.
And some of the needs that maybe they haven't shared with their clinicians or with their family or even, with the world at large. And so to have all the different tools at their disposal to kind of play with just really creates fingerprint, healing that is unique. And so it's so great what you guys are doing here.
That's a really important point. And of course, one of the tools that I think is really useful is herbal medicine. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about who you are and your background. Of course, I just want to say to the listeners, all of the information we share here today is for educational purposes. If you have any questions, this is not to diagnose any particular mental health conditions. You'll want to talk to your primary care physician. Although you probably do want to take some notes because we're going to cover some really cool information about herbs today. So tell us a little bit about your background, Brian.
Yeah, so my background is mostly based out of Seattle. I studied herbal medicine there, actually as my bachelor's of science, which is what led me to naturopathic medicine. So my undergraduate degree was entirely focused on the plant chemistry and what plants can do.
Oh, so cool.
It was very cool. Everything from industry to the healing properties, to doing the in vitro cell cultures that help us to create the basic science for how we understand plants, because plant research is in its infancy by and large, and we're really seeing, because of the trend in America, we're seeing this big, beautiful blossoming of research in plants.
Yes, it is big and beautiful.
It is awesome, and it doesn't answer every question just yet, so stay tuned.
Yes.
And then meanwhile, I was exposed to naturopathic medicine. So in Seattle, naturopaths act as primary healthcare physicians. They're licensed. And that was me learning the clinical aspects and the Western medicine needed to really safely apply herbs in complicated cases, or to be called in, even for this show, to be called in to talk about plants.
Right.
I'm holding all that research and science as well as the conventional sort of Western approach, and where they meet and where they might not be best friends and where they could really work together.
Such a great explanation, and we are so appreciative of you spending your time with us today. So let's dive in. Let's dive in and talk about kind of the basics about herbs for mood, for energy, for focus, because as an integrative mental health clinician, I see the mind and body as one system. And so my focus, our clients are concerned about mood management, focus, energy. So how do herbs come into play?
Yeah. Herbs come into play in so many different ways, because remember, we can use herbs as food as medicine, as well as using them supplementally and using them to enhance certain parts of our being.
Right.
Herbal medicine, of course, is the oldest medicine in the world, right? We've been using this from the moment we could figure out how to boil water, we were using plants.
Yes.
And so when it comes to mental health, mood, and energy, what we find is, because herbs are plants have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of chemicals in them, all of which, when they get processed by our body, or not all of them, but most when they get processed by our body, can hit a plethora of targets in our body, with the receptors and the way the body works. So instead of taking a pharmaceutical drug that is targeted, and it's this is an SSRI, it's going to change, serotonin metabolism.
Right.
This is, herbs kind of hit a lot of different pieces. They might help relax skeletal muscle, as well as promote focus, as well as improve stress hormone metabolism.
So it's like a rain shower, if you will.
Indeed. A lot of times it's called the entourage effect, which is sometimes when we see multiple constituents working together, we get different effects than if we did each one as an individual.
Okay.
So we use herbs to kind of handle and mitigate all the problems kind of at the same time, while using education to go, which one is the star of this particular concern? I'm very stressed out. I'm very anxious. I feel that anxiety in my chest. There's an herb that tends to be more effective there.
I love that analogy. So would it be accurate to say that depending on the herb, there's going to be a star and then there's going to be a supporting cast?
Absolutely. That's the tea that we made today has that going for it.
Okay, so let's start there. Let's talk about this calm, cool, and collected tea, which tastes delicious, by the way. Let's talk about what the star of this tea is and the supporting cast.
Sure. So for Calm, Cool, and Collected, the purpose of this was honestly a little bit self-serving. I was a little nervous to come on here, so I knew I needed to focus and
honesty nugget.
Absolutely. You'll always get that. But I needed to, I wanted something that would be soothing to me, but not sedative. We don't need to be tired. I need to be present.
Yes.
But
all of a sudden you start nodding off.
Yeah. That has happened on accident. I have accidentally made too strong of a tea. But I wanted something that would help me focus and be present, but I skew towards the anxious side of life in general. So I knew I wanted to take that down a notch.
Okay.
So the herbs that are in there that help with the focus portion of our program include Gotu Kola. Its Latin name is Centella asiatica. It's a very popular herb, and rosemary. Okay. So rosemary for remembrance, that's a real thing.
Yes, I've got rosemary diffusing in the diffuser right now.
It's a real thing. It helps with mental alacrity. It's actually a thing called a nootropic, and we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
And then for the calming portion of our program, I chose herbs including lemon balm or Melissa officinalis, which is a really safe, gentle herb. It's used a lot in pediatrics. It tastes delicious.
Yes.
That lemony flavor is
Love
the
lemon balm.
Then I have hawthorn berries. So hawthorn berries are very specifically used for people who have chest palpitations with their anxiety.
Oh, I love that.
Yep.
That's an important tidbit.
It's a popular
right there.
one right there. Now, and again, if you have heart palpitations and you've been, had it worked up from your cardiovascular doctor and they say nothing's wrong, you're just nervous, then hawthorn's going to help take the edge off that. It's not going to magically make everything go away and everything in your life go right. That's often what happens to herbs is people put a little too much emphasis on them.
I think it's not just herbs. I think that our Western culture really wants a magic wand, a one-size-fits-all solution. And so it is important to remember that this is part of a complement. This is a layer. This is an aspect to add into. This is one among.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an integrative approach that actually helps solve the said heart palpitations.
Yes.
So the next herb that I chose was milky oat pods. Again, this is really soothing to the nervous system. There's even in vitro research about it helping with neural regeneration, which is kind of cool.
Ooh, love neural regeneration.
Yeah, it's not going to happen in humans necessarily, but it does happen in a petri dish, which is it at least tells us that the plant, as it was traditionally used, affects the system that it's always been believed to affect.
Yes.
And that's our beginning evidence that says, oh, that's interesting. The next herb in there is skullcap, and skullcap actually is a skeletal muscle relaxer, so it just kind of helps. Like I hold a lot of tension in my shoulders. I tend to do this.
Same with me.
Yeah, I lurch forward. I use it all the time for people who have desk jobs and they have all the associated.
So virtually all of us should be
basically
exploring skullcap.
It's a good friend. It's a good friend. It's not. I didn't use too much of it because too much skullcap can be a little sedative. I've seen it in sleepy time teas, and it's appropriate. And then the last one is holy basil.
Holy basil is near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely right. Yeah, just immediately.
I love you, holy basil.
Everybody's voice changes. Who knows holy basil? They're like, I could be talking a mile a minute, and then you go, holy basil.
Yes.
It's a beautiful.
I have
plant.
the look of love in my eye right
Absolutely.
now, don't I?
You do. It's shared. This is a shared moment.
Oh, it's a moment between us.
Brought to you by plants, which is my passion, is how plants unite all of us to just kind of the planet at large. We're kind of members of one life, which is all of us together, plants, animals, nature, humans, humanity. And I think plants are just an amazing bridge for that. And the stories of plants and how they react with or have interacted with humans for millennia helps with that bridge. Holy basil is a sacred herb that helps people connect with their spirit and their higher calling.
Yes.
And the belief that there is something, that you have a place in this world and that there are things bigger than you and it's out of love.
Yes.
There is whether you call it a god or just fate or whatever have you, there's something bigger than you that you're a part of and you belong to in a really loving way. And that's something holy basil reminds us of every time we drink it.
Yes. What a beautiful explanation. And I think too, I'm sure we'll touch on this again later, but there's something very self-caring, about the ritual of making tea, the ritual of choosing the blend. There's something beautiful about that ritual. So that's another layer of using an herbal tea, not just for the physiological benefits, but the emotional benefits for the ritual.
Yeah, and I do want to put a quick plug in there for the ritual. Whenever you have time to turn making tea into a meditation, I'm all about that. I do also want to give a shout out to my good friend, the French press, where you boil water, you throw the herbs in a French press, you let them go, you brush your teeth, you pour it in your coffee mug, and you're out the door because you're really busy. You can still have therapeutic effects from herbs.
That's a great idea to use a French press.
Yeah, to do loose leaf tea. Yeah.
Nice idea. Okay, let's dive into, we've got 3 big weird words that we want to tell everybody about so they can kind of group the different herbs and understand the how and the why.
So when it comes to common run-of-the-mill mental health concerns or things that people always kind of ask for help with, the categories we run into are nervines versus sedatives. So sedative herbs being plants that directly promote sleep. They actually slow down the functioning of the awake brain, and they kind of help you go to sleep. Valerian is a really popular one. Many people have heard of valerian.
I drink that. I drink valerian root tea every night as part of a ritual and a sleep aid.
Yep. And it does work very well both with falling asleep as well as staying asleep.
Yes.
Research supports both for valerian. If it works for you, it can be a really wonderful plant.
Yes. Okay, so sedative.
That's a sedative.
Yes.
A nervine is like backing up on that. It's more relaxing.
Okay.
For instance, skullcap is a nervine. It calms the mind. It does not necessarily put you directly to sleep. It might relax the skeletal muscles because of any autonomic sympathetic dominance. It might help tone that down a little.
So it cuts the edge off of things for people.
Absolutely. And some great examples of that were the skullcap we talked about, motherwort, lemon balm, and wood betony is another popular herb that they just take the edge off.
Okay.
And you'll see them if you buy stress ease teas at the supermarket and you turn them over, you'll probably see that catnip, linden will be in there.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that we covered in my food and mood group that recently wrapped up were adaptogens. So let's talk about adaptogens next because, first of all, I think it's a super cool word. I love to say it. It sounds really hip and cool.
Well, do you know the origin of the word?
Share it with us.
Adapt.
Yes.
Genesis, to create.
Yes.
To create adaptation, to be able to adapt to what's happening.
Let's have a moment of silence for that coolness. Nice. Okay.
That's it.
So, what's the lowdown on adaptogens?
The big word is stress.
Yes.
So adaptogens mitigate stress is the simplest way to put it. The cool thing about adaptogens and all, is that they can help you amp up. You've got a big day. You need energy. You need to have that going on. You have a presentation. There are certain adaptogens like the ginsengs that you see in a lot of over-the-counter supplements for like get up and go because they will promote focus. They will promote the energy that you need to do what you need to do without completely taxing your body. They kind of come in and help.
Without kind of that wiry, edgy stuff
coffee
of
feeling.
Energy drinks and all of those other things that I think people are intuitively reaching to kind of get that adaptogen effect. And something I tell my clients all the time when they come in is, I think most of the time we're doing the best that we can, but if in our menu we have 2 choices and one is bad and the other one is worse, we're going to take the bad option because that's the best that we have. Right. And so educating people on the idea that there are health enhancing adaptogens to help us with energy and motivation is really important so that people feel empowered to move away from energy drinks that are really hard on
the system.
Your system.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll see a lot of the herbs that I might even mention will be in those energy drinks in extremely high proportions. So that's another thing that you'll see dose abuse with some of our supplements.
Yes,
which is very, and I'm talking about your gas station,
right.
hangover pills or whatever you see that they're
Right.
like herbal. Those will have a lot of these herbs in them. And the reason for that is they're just putting them in mega doses and you're pushing your body too far. We all know there's a limit, right? With anything.
Yes,
there's
there's
only
a boundary.
so much we should work.
There is a boundary,
Yeah.
yes. And moderation is
Right.
key.
And moderation is so important. And we also know that there's a lot of times where that's not an option in the moment. You have that presentation.
Yes.
Your child had a fever and was up all night. You
Yes.
have no options. You have to go in and perform.
Yes.
Well, don't you worry. We're going to get a nice cup of tea in you. You're going to be okay. A little licorice, a little this, a little that.
Yes.
And you're going to make it through that day.
Yes.
The hope is that you're going to self-regulate back down.
Right.
So those are some of the stimulating adaptogens. The
Okay.
ginsengs, rhodiola is another one you might see.
Love rhodiola.
Rhodiola is great. And then Siberian ginseng or Eleutherococcus senticosus if you like Latin. And that one is very specific to athletes. Athletes love Siberian ginseng. It helps specifically with endurance. There are endurance trials with Siberian ginseng.
I wish I had
sure.
known that when I was training for my marathon.
It
I needed
would have been
it.
a great choice.
I needed it then.
Then meanwhile, we have adaptogens that are actually a little bit more relaxing, a little bit more calming of the mind. Our most famous one is ashwagandha.
Love ashwagandha.
Mm-hmm. I have some coming in very shortly.
Oh,
very
good to
excited
know, good
to make
to know.
tea from it. A little chalky flavor, but manageable. But yeah, so ashwagandha its Latin name is Withenia somnifera. It literally means promoting sleep, somni, like to go to sleep. So it's the adaptogen that you can take at night that won't wake you up, won't give you energy, but you'll wake in the morning and you'll kind of have that better get out of bed feeling. And it's also being researched currently for a lot of its hormone stabilizing properties.
I'm glad you brought that up because I have read and talked to people about ashwagandha with thyroid support and for women in perimenopause and menopause, which we know has associated mood symptoms with it that can feel really scary for people if they've had a certain mood pattern and all of a sudden that's really disrupted. That can feel really scary for people.
I love that you brought up perimenopause and menopause. Just that herbal medicine, that is a place where it shines very well, is helping with those symptoms very specifically, from the mood pieces to the hot flashes to the headaches and migraines, to the GI disturbances, to the dryness, all of that. There's plenty of efficacy. We could do a whole separate talk on that.
Ooh, let's do it.
Yeah. It's a natural part of life.
Yes.
And we have spent our culture sort of putting it aside and making just a joke about sticking your head in the freezer.
Right.
And then moving on and being like, now deal with that on your own.
Right.
And that's not good enough for me.
And neither is it good enough for me. And yes, we need to do that episode because I'm not gonna get off on a soapbox about that. But there are many layers as to why I think that's happening.
Absolutely.
So yes, let's do that. Okay, let's go into the third category. That's also a cool word.
Oh, my cool word of nootropic.
Nootropic.
Yes, so it promotes blood flow and oxygenation to the brain. This is a fancy word for focus. Right, this is going to help the brain focus. The brain's going to have better metabolism in and out. The blood's going to go in and out, so the bad stuff out, the good stuff in.
So we hear a
herbs will
lot in
do
the
that.
news about brain fog. Mm-hmm. Is this something you would want to think about with brain fog?
Absolutely. I would also reflex back to those adaptogens because brain fog is often a cortisol and a stress hormone dysregulation.
Okay.
Where your energy is just tanking in the middle of the day.
Okay.
So I would use a combination of adaptogens and nootropics. Some of my favorites, and you're probably familiar with ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo leaf is a very popular nootropic. Rosemary for remembrance being a real thing.
Yes.
And gotu kola.
Okay.
Again, being
I am not familiar with that. When I saw it I'm not at all familiar with that. So I've learned something new today.
You guys want to put a pin in that one. That's a great multi-factor use herb. It's wonderful.
Okay.
I love gotu-kola. I use it in a lot of the study formulas for students.
Right.
It helps with memory and recall.
Oh,
it does. And
good
energy.
to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Another thing to point out here, though, is a great moment where we can take the mechanism of action of an herb and now start asking some questions. Say, well, if that's so, and I have somebody who is a high risk of hemorrhagic stroke, or I have somebody who's on blood thinners, should they take nootropics? Should they be shunting blood to their brain? And the answer to that is it depends. And you may want to actually really think about that and talk with your doctor about if that's right for you. Because it's true. When we make a claim about what an herb does, we have to accept the theoretical contraindications that's going to happen.
Yes, and I think that speaks to what you referenced at the beginning about bioindividuality. So we have to take everything that we're talking about here in a general way and research and get consultation about how to apply that in our specific circumstances. And yes, we are now filling up on round 2 of the
pouring
tea.
another cup of tea.
Dee's like, wait, where's my cup?
I'm glad you guys like it.
I want to be calm and connected too. All right, so I may get the stat wrong. I think I read that upwards of 68% of people are using some type of herbal medicine. That's exciting to me. The article also referenced that many people are hiding that information from their primary care physicians. So I have some thoughts about that. I know you have some thoughts about that. I think it would help listeners to hear us kind of talk about why they need to tell their primary care physician and why that's okay to do.
The most important thing is that any physician cannot account for all the variables if they don't know them. So if you are doing things that affect your health that your doctor doesn't know about, they're in the dark.
Yes, they need the pieces of the puzzle.
They need to know. They may not know. A good doctor who doesn't know about a particular herbal supplement will say, I need to look that up. I need to research that.
Yes.
They may even say, if they're a little more conservative, they may say, could you stop taking that until I look it up? That, those are okay.
Yes.
If your doctor says that, don't panic. Don't be alarmed. Just they need to research it. They need to know what to look for.
Yes, and I really hope people listening are hearing that this is not about judgment. Healthcare providers want to help.
Right.
And they want to heal. And so we have to provide people with all of the information in order to do that.
Absolutely. And from my experience, from the calls that I've gotten from physicians, they're mostly curious. I haven't really run into too much of, because people will sort of have this idea that it's going to be bad, they're going to get in trouble, or something bad is going to happen. And mostly I have found that I get a lot of curiosity, and at the worst I get is dismissive. They're like, that's probably not doing anything. And I always like to reply, I'm like, well, then it's a very good placebo effect.
Yes, absolutely. And I think conventional medicine is opening up to herbal medicine.
Right.
And
functional medicine.
And I recommend people go see an integrative primary care physician, because integrative physicians tend to not only be open to this, but they integrate it into a treatment plan. So that's something for people to think about too.
And I love integrative and functional medicine doctors in so much that I enjoy that they're looking at the whole person when they're making a treatment plan. So it's hard sometimes when you have a cardiologist whose one focus is the heart, and you're like, so I take Hawthorne, is that good or bad? They're going to be very confused.
Right.
And with conventional or with functional doctors who are doing kind of primary health care, you can get a much more tailored approach.
Yes, good point. Okay, so we are new to herbs. We want to start introducing them in our life to help with our mood and mental health. I'm going to give you the question you probably dread most when you talk to people right now. Give us your top 5 herbs for mental health, Brian. Lay them on us.
So, As I will say until I am blue in the face, you cannot ask an herbalist what their top 5 herbs are because all plants are wonderful and our best friends. So that said, in an effort to answer your question,
yes,
and not dodge it, for mental health concerns, again, it's gonna. I'm treating the whole person, and I'm going to, and certain herbs work better for certain things. If I were to make a medicine chest of, it could be anything.
Love
Let's have
that.
5.
Yes.
I would have to say,
or a care basket.
A care basket. We're gonna have a care basket. I would say I would have skullcap because of its effects on both the skeletal muscle as well as the mind. So if you're a little sore from being stressed, it's gonna help knock that out. So that's one.
Okay.
I have to have Tulsi in there for myself. I just believe in it so strongly as an herb for connecting the body, mind, and spirit all as one.
Oh, yes.
Then the third herb I would probably pick is, oh gosh, this is hard. Probably for me, I would actually probably have kava in there. Kava is if you're making me pick 5, so I need one
in this moment in time,
and that's right. I reserve the right, dear listener, to change my mind. Tomorrow. But I would have kava because I'd want something that's heavy hitting. So kava is a very heavy hitting anxiolytic.
Okay.
There are trials of kava standing up and hitting the same markers as Xanax.
Okay, so an anxiolytic is a relaxer.
Yes. It stops stress and anxiety.
Yes. Okay, so we've got 3. 2 more.
2 more. I would probably have valerian because insomnia and sleep disturbances are real. Yeah, it's a real bummer.
Yes.
This is not an easy one.
It's a public health issue.
Yeah, it's stubborn. And my last one,
you got to make it holy basil.
I did. I said Tulsi. Oh, I'm so sorry. Tulsi is holy basil.
Okay. Wow. I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now you've got a freebie.
I switch. Yeah, I switch all my.
Okay, so Tulsi is
herbs.
actually holy basil.
Tulsi and holy basil are the same plants, a different common name.
Okay.
And I think the last one. Ooh, this is hard. And I'm actually going to go with another weird one I didn't mention before. I'd say Devil's Club or Opaloplanix horridus. It's a ginseng relative.
Yes.
I really like it. It's a really great herb. It acts very similar to American ginseng, which is a little bit more of the calming ginseng versus Chinese. There's a whole discussion there. And the reason I like it is that the plant itself has thousands of little spikes on it. And it's all about having the defense to stand up and kind of say who you are.
Oh,
it says I am me,
that.
and I have the energy to protect myself and what I believe in. Yeah, grounded,
powerful.
Yeah. And so biochemically, it helps with energy and focus. And then the story of the plant is this story of having that. I am here, I am me. And so to combine those two, I think is beautiful. And
love that. Okay, Brian, thank you so much for being here. Please come back and let's talk about all things herbs again.
Absolutely, especially if you do a menopause episode.
Yeah.
Or a healthy aging episode, really.
Oh, healthy aging, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're down for that.
Cool.
Thank you again.
Thank you for having me, everybody.
Now that we're all calm and connected, that was fantastic.
Brian is a wealth of information.
And I mean the tea, seriously.
The tea's so good.
The tea is so stinking good. So interesting. We try to end every episode with a little Q&A, and I've got one quick question for you that's going to put you on the spot for a moment, Allison.
Oh, good. I can't wait for this.
What has been your favorite episode so far of Integration Nation?
Okay. I'm torn. I'm super torn. But here's what I'm going to go with based on what I'm seeing in the consulting room and on the street. I'm going to go with the lowdown on letdown.
Such a good one.
And I'm going to go with that because emotional literacy is, you have to have emotional literacy to be able to apply most of the other tools that we're talking about. And there's so much there that impacts every other aspect of mental health and wellness. So if I have to pick one, I'm going to go with that one. What about you?
I could listen to that one, true story, over and over. There's so much in it. I also am in love with the boundary episode.
The boundary episode.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
Because, boundaries can seem very heavy for people and a muscle that you need to work on sometimes, and that can be tough, and you can be sore from it and all of that, but it's good. It's a good episode.
Yes. And what I like about that one is many times with these concepts, even when people know that they're healthy and they need to apply them, they don't know how. So with the boundary episode, we provided people with an integrative protocol to utilize several different tools to help them apply boundary setting. And so I think that's a little bit extra, like the cherry on top of the boundary episode.
That is so true. Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org is the website. That is the hub for so many things. You will find the listing of the episodes for Integration Nation. You will find the worksheets. You will find workshops. You will find the newsletter, how you can sign up for that and get in on all of what's happening here. It's so important. And Allison will meet you right where you are today. Allison Sullivan and Associates Integrative Mental Health Team is located in beautiful, historic downtown Fredericksburg, Virginia, and at Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org. New and exciting workshops are available to you that will give you personal attention to meet your needs right where you are on your journey. Sign up for our newsletter to be the first to know when registration opens for workshops like Aromatherapy 101. Here's how you can discover to use aromatherapy to support your health. Did you know that a blend of frankincense, peppermint, and lemongrass supports wisdom, optimism, and it will help you release unhealthy attachments? This is where you can learn how to support your mental, emotional, and physical health with the Essential Oils workshops available to you monthly for no charge. Come meet the team. Schedule your session today for psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, yoga, and massage, and begin restoring yourself in mind, body, and spirit. If you'd like to call, the number is 540-907-0991 and online at Allison'sIntegrativeHealth.org. As Allison always says, self-care will save your life. Let go and lean in.